Up until now, we've been a pretty small team, but in order to take Rupert to the next level with the new service that we're offering, it means that we've got to expand, which is obviously exciting, but also a little bit scary.
So Rupert Connect is a managed social strategy that builds community, drives engagement and converts followers into actual clients, because we're actually controlling the conversation, the community management, rather than our brands and our customers that do it, that sort of half-arse it. So we're taking that off their plate entirely. And yeah, because obviously now that we are running this as a HaaS, as a human as a service, we're now going to need a lot more team members and dedicated staff that are going to actually be running those social pages and communities for our clients, one of those being Brewdog. It's great for them because they get a deeper relationship with their actual users and their clients. So rather than them just responding on the odd occasion when they have chance, even when they're using Rupert, actually they start building that community and that engagement with their users rather than just responding when and if they can. From a content perspective, in terms of this stuff that we're doing, what will be more interesting is that it won't just be me and you, and actually showcase day to day what these community managers are doing, how they're interacting with accounts, how they're growing accounts, actually some of the sales opportunities that they're able to get from an initial comment, someone actually making a purchase. So actually there'll be a lot more content that we can produce, which will be a lot more engaging. And actually from clients that are sitting on the fence, do we use Rupert or Connect or do we not? Actually they can see firsthand the community managers we have. And actually from your perspective, you can start building those community managers into their own little people within our story. The slight problem when it comes to obviously managing a larger team, especially roles of this nature, there are some causes for concern in terms of managing that volume of people like we used to do at MIB, which is something we were looking to move away from. So back when I was running MIB, it was started in about 2009 when we first started, and that business was 15 years old at the time. And our largest headcount, I think at one point with a contract that we had with Vodafone, I think we hit 60 heads, including sales, call centre, delivery managers. So that's a lot of people to manage. Like, we have some absolute horror stories, not because there's bad people, but naturally when you're managing a huge volume of people, and especially for roles that are typically entry level to like the working world, you'll get a lot of adolescents, which obviously come with their own challenges, which is fine as long as they're managed correctly. Yeah, when you look back, obviously those stories, you look back and laugh now. But obviously at the minute, Rupert's a very small team, which is quite nice. We can be quite flexible, a lot more agile in our thinking. But obviously when you've got more staff, more processes, you can't be as agile. But the counter to that is, well, you've got people that make sure that we don't have things that just instantly happen, because we know, and we've already sort of had the foresight to look forward what might happen. And obviously because we're very tech enabled, a lot of that tech is going to relieve a lot of that pressure that we used to have in MLB, which is great. Going after bigger clients and now offering this managed service, which is Rupert Connect, we don't have a chance to do it without having more people to take on that bandwidth. And the reality is the larger businesses do still want that human touch, especially when it comes to community management. They don't want a robot or AI, whatever we want to call it, just responding willy-nilly. That's why Rupert Connect is exciting, because there's still going to be a human that just does that little bit at the end, which is just reviewing it, maybe tweaking it slightly, but actually the vast majority of the heavy lifting will be done with Rupert. It still means we need lots of staff, which is fine. But yeah, it's an exciting, because when I look back at MIB and God, some of the characters we had, we could probably write a story to some of them. Yes, although, I do look at the time, it's stressful, and we probably weren't set up correctly to be able to manage that volume of people. It happened very, very quick. Whereas now we're I'm laying the foundations that when we do have that huge volume of staff, it's not oh no, we don't have the processes in place. A lot of the work I'm doing right now is putting those processes in place so that it's a very easy transition from 5 staff to 15, and then 15 to 60, and 60 to 100. They're the foundations and the processes that I'm laying now, with the foresight that we are going to be doing this, and we will be getting to that headcount before we know it, and really before the end of this year, which is exciting. But like I say, I do look back at MIB with some very fond memories. But like I said at the time, God, it was stressful. One of the biggest challenges and problems we are facing, or will face, is having staff in another office and putting our trust in that person. Not because you're untrustworthy, it's just that it's not you. When you pass on the baton for someone to manage an account and look after a client account, there is going to be that expectation of you need to do the job correctly. And one of the reasons why I'm more conscious than ever is because Rupert Connect is a quite high cost. So the monthly invoices will be thousands rather than hundreds. Clients' expectations will obviously increase, but we've got SLAs to make sure that we're within those, which is great. Having SLAs in place are really important so that we know, are we meeting the expectations? And are the client, obviously you set those SLAs, they're happy that we're meeting them as well, which is great. We don't want anyone to feel dissatisfied at any point, from a Rupert perspective and our reputation. We don't want anyone to ever feel like that. That's why, sometimes, passing it on is a little bit of worry because, the loss of revenue could be dramatic. So the pressure is really on to ensure that we bring in the right people, build the right team with the right ethos to manage our clients as if they were an internal resource for those clients. Now that helps when you get bigger badges because people want to work for Brewdog or Pure Sports or Enterprise or whomever it is. And it's a lot easier to attract talent when they're going to be working for an agency that have those big names. That's where we need to really make sure that we, from a sales perspective, win the right brands so that when we recruit, we're bringing in the right talent to manage these clients.
So how many will we need? I don't know right now is the answer. So we're testing out how many social media community managers can look after certain accounts, a certain volume of comments per day. So there'll be some highs and lows. Obviously some days will be quiet. For example, like a Monday might be quiet and then a Friday and Thursday might pop up. So you may have to rotor a little bit differently. When it comes to where the team should be based, that is at the moment the massive asterisk is to, I'm based in Leamington Spa. It's not a very, very densely populated area. We've got Birmingham up the road, we've got Coventry up the road, but then we have also got the opportunity to use the development team's offices in Manchester. Now, Manchester, loads of talent, which is fantastic, but then they're away from me, which is what I don't really want. Suddenly I'm travelling up there a couple of times a week in the early stages to really ensure that everything's just working as it should be. Then do you have to think about, when you look at the recruitment, do you recruit a lead community manager to start with to then build around that person? The risk versus reward is if you get the wrong person, bad habits, bad ethos, just not aligned with my goals, it causes some massive issues. There's just so many elements to this. Staff cost money. Here in the UK at the moment, it's more expensive to hire staff, and which is why so many people are going overseas. I just need to sort of really ponder on what's the best solution moving forward. More for clients, right? If Manchester's the best place, then we go to Manchester. It's simple as that. I'll be very clear with our goals of this business is we're gonna grow it really quickly this year because of the new offering, which means again the headcount's there.
If we're going to grow Rupert Connect to a huge agency that's going to be that that go-to community management globally, it's necessary that we need to manage staff in a certain way. And obviously it will take time to set up, like all these things do, and getting things running smoothly, where it comes to tech, whether it comes to staffing and how that works, teams, pods, however we set it up. There's a lot to do, and that'll just take time, right? Although I'm going into this with a process that I think will win today, there'll always be a point when you hit a certain scale that process has to change. And however big you get, I always want to be agile. I want to make sure that the clients come first, but making sure that we're agile enough, but also process enough to make sure that we can be agile. I think that's really important. That's where a lot of agencies, because this is simply what this is as an agency, is that make sure that we're able to process, to be agile, but also to make sure that we can expand and scale to the scope that I require us to do to generate the revenue to keep growing. Because if you don't have the process, then it all falls down, right? You need a strong base from day one, otherwise it will unfortunately all fall down. And we're very lucky with the proprietary tech we have, at Rupert, the tech, none of this could happen. But that's the exciting part, is that what we're going to market to offer is very unique, and no one can compete with us when it comes to what we're offering when it comes to community engagement management, and that's exciting.